Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video and continuing on reviewing more Halloweenish materials on the weekends. So yes guys, that's right. You know what the next Halloweenish material it is that I am now about to review. Something Looney Tunes. Yes, and because you read the title, you know exactly what this is. It's in fact a Looney Tunes horror-themed trilogy from the genius mind of Chuck Jones, where this Looney Tunes-themed horror-ish trilogy stars none other than, say, Porky Pig and Sylvester. That's right. The Porky Pig and Sylvester Trilogy that happened in the late 40s and early 50s. Yep. All done by Chuck Jones, being directed by him, etc. Where this Looney Tunes trilogy centers on Porky and Sylvester. And, you know, another famous Looney Tunes trilogy that Chuck Jones did, of course, was with Bugs, Daffy, and Elmer. You know. Yeah. So, that's right. I'm now going to be reviewing the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy, and, you know, perfect to be doing this, and, you know, since it is, it's something horror and such, So, yeah, the four Looney Tunes short films that star Porky and Sylvester, and we're basically, Sylvester in these three Looney Tunes shorts with Porky has no speaking lines whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, sometimes he'll make a few grunts or something like that, and with a little bit of Mel Blanc doing the voice of Sylvester, but that's mainly it. Yeah. Sylvester is a quiet cat, unlike all the other different Looney Tunes shorts that star and feature Sylvester, where he does talk, and with that floppy voice, he's got sufferin' succotash, and no sufferin' succotash in any of these three short films. Yeah. And, yep, the three short Looney Tunes short films in the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy are 1948's Scaredy Cat, 1954's Claws for Alarm, and 1955's Jumpin' Jupiter. Yeah. So, with the first things I have to say about these three Looney Tunes shorts that feature/star Porky and Sylvester, and from, again, the genius mind of the late Chuck Jones, one of the fathers of Looney Tunes, yeah, I mean, I had most prominently seen Scaredy Cat before. I remember when owning one of those VHS tapes that came out in the late 90s, maybe you had those as well, where one of them contained this, and so it's very fitting that because Scaredy Cat is the first of the three Looney Tunes horror shorts from the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy, yeah, great to see that I first saw this. And at some point, I saw bits and pieces of Claws for Alarm, part of one of those, like, special Looney Tunes specials, you know, that were on TV. Maybe it was Quackbusters. I'll have to go back and look, but yeah. I just remember, a few clips where from Claws for Alarm, Porky and Sylvester, they go into this haunted hotel, Porky rings the bell, checks them in, all that. Jumpin' Jupiter, back then I hadn't really seen any of it until, at some point I did on social media, and having done, a rewatch of all three of them, most prominently checking out the entirety of Jumpin' Jupiter, just in case. All three Looney Tunes shorts that star Porky Pig and Sylvester, well, of course they're fantastic. During the golden age of Looney Tunes, clearly, And I don't know, because if I had to choose a favorite, well, I don't know, because I hate choosing favorites sometimes. It depends, but yeah, I guess probably the first one that started it all, you know? It's really good. You know, not to mention that at a certain point in the 1950s to early 60s, but most prominently the 50s, there was a bit of a change to the style of the Looney Tunes, and with what Chuck Jones would do further. doing Looney Tunes in the 50s. Like, it's like, you know, most prominently almost like a different look and style to the characters themselves, or a color change to Marvin, where he wore green and bronze. So, you know, that whole thing. Not that I'm complaining, no, it's, you know, of course looks fantastic, but I'm just simply saying. But yeah, so, you know, of course, with the 3 Looney Tunes shorts of the Porky, Pig, and Sylvester trilogy, they, of course, don't fail to bring some hilarious moments, and with what goes on in each 3 storylines that center on Porky and Sylvester, Sylvester being a scaredy cat, and, of course, would be concerned for his owner's safety, Porky. And unbeknownst to Porky, besides the first of the 3 shorts, Porky has no clue what's going on, and I feel as though that especially for the 3rd and final Looney Tunes short, he's a dummy. I'm just saying, because, man, he is clueless as to what's going on, you know, of his surroundings. Sylvester is very clear on what's going on, but until I talk more about that. But yeah. Yeah, just overall, the Porky, Pig, and Sylvester horror trilogy, because that's what it is, from Chuck Jones, a fantastic Looney Tunes trilogy. Maybe it would probably be up there from the Duck Rabbit Hunt trilogy. I know there's a specific name for it, but you know, that other trilogy that Chuck Jones did. Again, as I mentioned, Bugs, Daffy, and Elmer. Anyways, so, alright, but just, yeah, again, overall, a really good Looney Tunes trilogy that centers / features / stars Porky Pig and Sylvester the Cat. Okay, so now with the first things I've had to say about the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy now out of the way, let us dive in / break down all 3 Looney Tunes shorts themselves, shall we? Okay, so starting with 1948's Scaredy Cat. Description / the story, the premise. Porky and Sylvester move into a creepy old mansion inhabited by murderous mice. Now, the first of the 3 Looney Tunes shorts of the Porky and Sylvester trilogy. Yep, this is where it all begins, where, yeah, we have Porky and Sylvester on an adventure, and, well, yeah, because they have just now moved into this creepy mansion. Porky doesn't find it creepy or scary at all, but Sylvester does, and Porky mentioning that it's the only thing that the real estate agent had. And, well, already, Sylvester being, you know, shaky, terrified, like, you know, the sight of a bat, and so on, and Porky telling Sylvester at one point to go sleep in the kitchen, but he refuses to do so, but yeah. Then, Sylvester would discover that, yeah, there are mice present in the mansion, and they are just no ordinary mice. They are scary, murderous mice whom, well, we see them at one point, like, yeah, the first time we see them, they're holding candles, like, there's this ceremony and such, and they've got a cat in a wagon, and they're basically gonna kill him, and Sylvester being terrified by this, and Sylvester trying to warn Porky about this, but, you know, Porky finds this all nonsense and rubbish, and, not to mention that, yeah, because the mice in the first of the 3 Looney Tunes shorts, they are, yeah, they're the same model and design as, those 2 mice, Hubie and Bertie. I mean, it's obvious, yeah. And especially because all of them, they have gray fur. So, yeah. Anyways, so again, Sylvester trying to warn Porky about this, but Porky finds this all rubbish, and Sylvester, and, you know, these were the cartoons of the late 40s and 50s and so on, you know, just what can you do about it? Just, yeah. Yet at the same time, it's still funny, because, yeah, somehow it still is. You know, even when, like, my mom and I, we had a conversation that led up to this, yeah, and I played her a clip that's on YouTube, a compilation of suicide in cartoons, and yes, because Sylvester was about to commit suicide, pointing a gun to his head, and Porky being very quick enough to stop him and preventing him from this, but yeah. You know, somehow, look, even though, because, like, whenever these cartoons would be reshown, they would remove that. Still, that's removing history and what made those Looney Tunes shorts, any cartoon, hilarious. Still, there's, these cartoons have still have found a way for that kind of stuff to still be quite funny and amusing. Anyways, it's just a cartoon, for God's sake. But as I was saying, Porky, he offers Sylvester to sleep in bed, but yeah, the mice, they dispose Sylvester. He's literally outside of the mansion, and he was supposed to close the window, but he closes the windows of a birdhouse, and realizing that, yeah, he's outside, and yeah, when he comes back in, he finds a heavy weight, or so, I know the name of it, but just, anvil, I think, yeah, that's the name of it. So, yeah, he catches it, and Porky waking up and like, what were you going to do with that? And he boots him out of the bedroom, and yeah. And, well, that's when the mice try to kill Porky by rolling down a bowling ball, but, Sylvester saving Porky, and, yeah, but he takes the hit of the bowling ball, then Porky taking the unconscious Sylvester to his cat bed in the kitchen. However, there's an elevator door beneath the cat bed that lowers down, and, yeah, then a couple of hours pass, and not to mention that there were a couple of other booby traps that were set off as Porky was leaving the kitchen, and managing to avoid them, and not even notice. But after a few hours pass, I think, yeah, around 4 o'clock in the morning, Sylvester, he comes back, and judging by the look on his face and his skin being white, his fur, he saw something very horrific in the basement / downstairs. What did he see? Well, we can only assume, but anyways, use your imagination. Anyways, so, and then he wakes up Porky scaring him, just, and like, you take off that disguise makeup, and Porky taking him back downstairs. I should have gotten an dog. I'm quite good at Porky, if you knew that, but anyways. And on account of Sylvester, as I did earlier, but yeah. And then Porky just having enough and proving to Sylvester that, he's going to go in the kitchen and prove that nothing is happening, but yeah, sure enough, something does happen. And yep, the mice finally capture Porky. They got him tied up, and Porky's holding a sign that reads, "You were right, Sylvester." Yeah, for once, and this being the only one of the 3 shorts where Porky does realize that Sylvester was telling the truth. Something bad and scary is going on. Yeah. Then Sylvester, he runs like a coward. However, an angel that resembles him, like his conscience or something, because encouraging him to go back and fight the mice, because he is bigger than the mice, and yeah, they're just mice, and yeah, because why would Sylvester be terrified of them? And yeah, the more he gets encouraged to fight, yeah, now he has the strength and braveness to go in and take down the mice. He was going to take a branch from a tree, but then he just decided to, heck with this, I'm taking the whole tree, and that's what he does, and managing to dispose the mice, they all run out, and yeah, then Porky thanking Sylvester. However, there's one more mice that we did see early on, and throughout this short, where he was wearing a black mask, and we could see his eyes. He comes out of the cuckoo clock and, gonks, bonks Sylvester on the head, and like a Mexican stereotype or something of a mice, pussycats are crazy, animals, crazy people. So, yeah, because, like, the teeth and the mustache and the hat he's wearing is a funny way to end off that short, without doubt. But, yeah. So 1948's Scaredy Cat, really good. Yeah. And a great way to start off this Looney Tunes trilogy. Again, starring / featuring Porky and Sylvester. Okay. Now, let's move on to 1954's Claws for Alarm. Okay, description / the story and the premise, yeah. The duo checks into an abandoned hotel in a desert ghost town only to discover it's full of mice who are not happy about the intrusion. Yeah, so pretty much it's exactly like how it was with the first one. Where, yeah, because, like, instead of it being a mansion, it's a hotel in a ghost town. And Porky just still being unaware and not totally unfazed. Yeah, that's what I mean to say. Totally unfazed that, they are in the presence of a ghost town and suspects nothing. But Sylvester does, of course, noticing some scary things throughout the hotel from outside and in, scary eyes that pop out, and yeah, obviously, those are the presence of the mice. And, and same thing like with the first one, where the mice, they plan to try to get rid and dispose of Porky and Sylvester. Yeah, most prominently Porky, but yeah, Porky being completely unbeknownst and having no idea. And yeah, just the jokes throughout this, and, because, like, one moment where the mice threw a bust stuffed head statue of a moose, you hang on your wall. They come out of that, and they were going to use a gun on Porky, but Sylvester being quick enough to stop them from doing that, and Porky thinking that, yeah, this was Sylvester's doing, like, well, not really, like, not going to kill him with a gun, but just messing around and just, over a simple stuffed moose head display. Yeah. And other things that occur in the haunted hotel, because, just, like, there's a couple of mice that disguise themselves as ghosts, or, they at one point plan to hang Porky, but, of course, Sylvester was quick enough to prevent that from happening, and Porky just thinking that Sylvester's just doing this, and unintentionally, but just misbehaving. And, even, like, by taking the rifle that the mice had and Sylvester using it, and, Sylvester hardly getting any wink of sleep because of this. And it's very good on Sylvester to, keep watch and protect his owner. That's a good loyal cat right there, even though Porky has no clue. And yeah, this is where, in this, Porky has no idea what's going on, and he doesn't until the end. It never does. Up to the end, I should say. And yeah, just with all the other funny things that go on, and Sylvester stopping the mice, and, unintentionally pissing off Porky, but and Porky just being very harsh at times towards Sylvester. But anyways, then by the next morning, again, Sylvester not getting any wink of sleep. Porky did, on the other hand, and considers that, they'll probably stay at the haunted hotel and in the ghost town for a couple of days, maybe a week or so. But Sylvester, no, he does not approve of this, and he sneaks up at Porky as he's washing up and, and singing Home on the Range, where the deer and the antelope play, that whole thing. He sneaks up to him, and, we can see what he's about to do. He has the rifle, and bonks him on the head, knocks him out unconscious, and Porky just, he, on a loop, just keeps singing, and the deer, and the antelope, and the deer. And, because of that, Sylvester, he puts Porky and the luggage in the car, and Sylvester taking the wheel, they're out of there. However, Sylvester does not realize that the mice have snuck in their car, so, they're still in trouble. And that's how it ends off. 1954's Claws for Alarm, the second installment of the Porky and Sylvester trilogy. Funny, entertaining, all of the above. And even though, because it is similar to the first short in the trilogy, no, it was still really good. There were still some changes here and there, and with how it was done, and on account of the ending. But just with all that being said, Claws for Alarm was really good. Okay, now we come to the third and last Looney Tunes short in the Porky and Sylvester trilogy, and it actually came out 1 year after Claws for Alarm, and that being Jumpin' Jupiter. Okay, description / the story, and the premise, While camping, Porky and Sylvester are abducted by aliens, and once again, just like in the second to last short in the trilogy, Porky just being completely, unfazed, having no clue that they have been abducted and brought to outer space and brought to another planet, just none of that. And this is where I really feel as though, and no hard feelings to Porky, he's pretty much stupid in this, but Sylvester being the smart one. If you get what I'm saying, I'm sure you would think so too. Just Porky, are you not aware where you're at now at the end of this short film? What is with you, man? Just pig? But yeah, but besides from that, it was still enjoyable, because, yeah. Well, Porky and Sylvester, they're camping out in the desert, and there's canyons, and, well, Sylvester, still being a scaredy cat, just being scared, being outside and out in the middle of this desert, even when hearing, say, a coyote howl, and once again, Porky being quite harsh at Sylvester at times. In fact, there was one moment where he threatened to kill Sylvester, like, dang, Porky, like, why'd you have to say that? I don't know, well, you can make the argument he's just fed up, but, still, you didn't have to be that harsh. Anyways, and, obviously you didn't mean to say it, but, but yeah, so, Sylvester being scared, and, Sylvester has to sleep out of the tent and right at the fireplace. Well, I mean, at least he's right at the campfire and nearby where Porky is in his, warm, cozy tent. Meanwhile, and eventually when Sylvester would go to sleep peacefully, well, unbeknownst to them, and while they're still asleep, a spaceship arrives. And, by the way, the spaceship, at times makes, the sounds that we, that were used in, the movie The Thing, if I'm saying that right, Them, or, the one with the giant bug, you know what I'm talking about, yeah, if you've seen that. And also, that would be used in a couple of other films, like, that would have to do with the jungle. Like, I can think of, say, Disney's The Jungle Book, the atmosphere, like the crickets and all that. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to describe, and how that's used in Disney's Jungle Cruise, the attractions. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Just, yeah, I thought I'd mention that fun fact, because it's true. But yeah, and this is where, yeah, we get the appearance of the instant Martians, these Martians that are basically birds. Yeah, that's pretty much what they are, with pink neck collars. And we've seen them before in a bunch of other Looney Tunes shorts, like the one where Bugs, would have another encounter with Marvin, and Marvin planning to blow up the Earth. They're present there. Just, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so, in fact, because, Marvin, at one point, he plants, the instant Martians. And again, if you've seen that short, and you know which one I'm talking about. But yeah, so, we see one, appear, and the instant Martian has a mission to bring back, an animal from Earth, and so on, animal life. And, well, the instant Martian discovering, the presence of Sylvester, and also with noticing Porky, and with the clever technology that the instant Martian's ship has, the ship/UFO, basically going through a canyon and making its way underground, and cutting a large circle, taking where, yeah, the tent is, and Sylvester, all of it, their campsite, and taking it up to outer space. And somehow they managed to still breathe in space. I mean, I'm guessing probably there's an invisible force field, yeah. But at the same time, it's a cartoon, so, yeah, go figure. But yeah, and eventually, Porky, he would wake up to this, and he's feeling a bit chilly, and, well, yeah, because he's in freaking outer space, and going for an extra blanket, and he does look outside of the tent at one point, just unbeknownst to him, he's not fazed. He thinks that it's the nighttime sky, and it's so beautiful, just, oh my gosh, just Porky. How can you not realize? Yeah. However, Sylvester does. When he wakes up, and even to, seeing the presence of the instant Martian, he's terrified. And by waking up Porky and describing Porky what he just saw, Porky finding this nonsense, but when Porky actually sees the instant Martian, he thinks it's just an animal or a person. He has no idea and is not fazed that it's a Martian. Like, Porky. And yeah, I mean, Porky being polite over the instant Martian, and the instant Martian just totally unfazed. In fact, after all of that, he's just like, he looks at the camera, he's like, what just happened? The instant Martian just just proceeding with his mission just to simply bring back an animal life back to the planet that he comes from. But yeah, so with other funny things that go on, then of course, towards the end of Jumpin' Jupiter, it would end off where, yeah, they land on the planet, and, well, yeah, Porky, you know, because when he steps out and he can see Earth from a far distance, he just thinks it's just a strange planet. It's Earth, Porky. You're not on Earth anymore. And Porky, along with Sylvester, they get in the car, and Porky driving off like just nothing. It's just a simple drive, and just has no idea from his surroundings. And yeah, seeing, you know, giant, tall, instant Martians, and two of them, they smile, you know, delighted that they have company on the planet. Just, yeah, and that's how the short film ends off. Jeez Louise, just, yeah. But, you know, overall, 1955's Jumpin' Jupiter, the third and last of the Porky and Sylvester trilogy. Another really good one, and yeah, just everything that was going on in it. And you know, because this time, dealing with something science fiction and a Martian, and in the case, it's an instant Martian. And yeah, Sylvester being the only one that realizes what all is going on, but Porky, not really. Just, what was with Porky in this? Just, yeah. He clearly saw everything that was going on, from the instant Martian being in outer space on a different planet, seeing Earth, and he had no clue. Just, oh my gosh, just how did he not realize? Oh, well, that's just Porky for you, I guess, and Looney Tunes. But yeah, and yeah, the animation, of course. Almost forgot to mention, and can't forget to mention, that the animation in all three Looney Tunes shorts, fantastic, beautiful, and with Chuck Jones' direction, the funny moments, the slapstick, the storylines in all three of them, and yeah, to round off, and my final thoughts and such of, and reviewing, the Porky and Sylvester trilogy, yeah, all three of them, fantastic. You know, another great Looney Tunes trilogy to come from the late genius mind of Chuck Jones, what he brought to the characters of Porky and Sylvester, having them be a duo, the shenanigans they get themselves into, most prominently Sylvester, and Sylvester having to be there to save his owner's life, and that being Porky in these three three Looney Tunes short films. Gotta slow down. Yeah, and just out of all three, because the first one, Porky realized what was going on in the end, but for the other two, not really. Now, I mean, he never got a chance to realize what was going on in Claws for Alarm, but in Jumpin' Jupiter, he saw everything, but had nothing. He was totally unfazed by it. Yeah. And with what they get themselves into, like they deal with mice and Martians, yeah. Just overall, the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy, yeah, Scaredy Cat, Claws for Alarm, and Jumpin' Jupiter, they're all fantastic. And again, from the golden age of Looney Tunes, and when Chuck Jones was one of those top guys of Looney Tunes that was in charge and responsible for bringing the Looney Tunes to life, and for our entertainment and our laughs. Yeah. And I'm giving all three Looney Tunes shorts that feature/star Porky, Sylvester, the Porky and Sylvester trilogy. Yeah, the entirety of it. 10 out of 10 stars, obviously, yes. 10 out of 10 stars for the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy, Scaredy Cat, Claws for Alarm, and Jumpin' Jupiter. And what about you guys? What did you think of the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy itself? Which is your favorite of the three shorts? Or if you enjoy the entirety of the Looney Tunes trilogy that stars/features Porky and Sylvester. Favorite hilarious moments and with what goes on in each three Looney Tunes shorts? And if Porky and Sylvester being a duo is one of your top favorite duos of Looney Tunes, which was the first of the three that you ever saw? And maybe if you're on the same page as me, you saw Scaredy Cat first, and if you owned those VHSs that I mentioned and that contained that one, yeah, But just, yeah, overall, what do you think of the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy itself, with what all I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Porky Pig and Sylvester trilogy. Yeah, all three of them. Scaredy Cat, Claws for Alarm, and Jumpin' Jupiter. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, of course, continuing on reviewing more Halloweenish materials on the weekends. Stay tuned, because what I will be reviewing next is another piece of Halloweenish animation that has to do with another cartoon cat. And this cartoon cat is everyone's favorite lasagna eating and Monday hater. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just, yeah. Again, stay tuned for that. Take care, peace out, and in the words of Porky Pig, obviously, that's all, folks.